and welcome. You're watching Head to Head. I'm Antonina Antosha with UATV. Ukraine has advanced in a number of important and demanding reforms over the past years, including healthcare, decentralization, and public administration. These are all vital for the implementation of the association agreement. It was the document that started the revolution of dignity 5 years ago. To discuss the scenarios for future relations between the European Union and Ukraine, we're joined in the studio today by Kachka. He's an advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hello.
So, on the 1st of September, the association agreement with between European Union and Ukraine actually came into force. Over that period of time, what kind of achievements did Ukraine boast of?
I think that the 1st of September 2017, when the agreement actually entered into force, it was not maybe a very, let's say, substantive day in the life of Ukrainians, because the changes in society, they started in 2013, 2014, and on 2017 they already become visible. And the association agreement also, the implementation of the agreement started immediately in 2014, even before the formal signing of the agreement. And what is important is that changes in society, they are wider in the scope than the association agreement as such. And I think that what we can herald and what can celebrate as a major success of Ukraine in its transformation is not limited to the association agreement as such, because we have something deeper, something more structural, which is also envisaged in the association agreement, but maybe not in such detailed manner as, for example, food safety provisions, where we're also quite successful. And I usually mark three major changes. One of this change is the change of politicum as such. So for 5 years, what we see is that not only professional politicians or professional bureaucrats or officials are involved in decision-making process. It's a wider audience. It's a big number of civic activists, ordinary people who are working on daily routine, advocating for positive changes, explaining positive changes, and then implementing positive changes everywhere, starting with public health reform, decentralization, judiciary reform. And I think that this is a major success for all Europe, because this is something very important for development of democracy in whole continent. And this is also an agenda in the EU. And what, for example, Emmanuel Macron is doing, he is traveling around Europe and explaining that people, ordinary people, they should be engaged in politics. They should be engaged in advocating positive changes. And that's what actually happens in Ukraine for 5 years. And this is a major achievement. Second one is a set of structural reforms. The reforms which are not instructed. We have no instruction on how to make macro-financial stability or how to ensure independence of judiciary. And here we have a really major success. And on macro-financial stability, I think that we're also one of champions in Europe, and in the bravery of Ukrainian government, which cleaned banking system with an extremely big number of tough decisions, is a major success for whole Europe, because at the same time Europe saved Greece and also Ukraine saved itself in terms of macro-financial stability. On judicial reform, I think that we can present here a lot of criticism about the quality of judiciary in Ukraine. It is still weak part of broad governance. But
would you say that this is the weakest spot in Ukraine's reforms right now?
Still weakest part, because the trust to judiciary is extremely low. But at the same time, what we managed for 5 years, we managed to amend constitution in terms of war, in terms of very complex parliament, with very divided parliament. We found a majority of 2/3 of MPs to adopt amendments to constitutions and judiciary, and these amendments founded a new beginning, new start of building independence judiciary. We still have a lot of fight in terms of selecting proper judges, in terms of development of proper justice, efficient, integral and impartial judges. At this part we still have a lot of challenges, but at the same time the path of this structural reform is also a big success. And final big success is success of Ukrainian economy and association agreement as such, because I think that we all heard a lot of criticism that the association agreement is a big failure for Ukrainian economy. Ukrainian business will die in competition with the EU. It's quite opposite. It's absolutely different story, because we have have more than 10,000 Ukrainian companies exporting to the EU. This is also an answer to the question that association agreement will benefit only oligarchs. No, also minor business, small and medium companies are exporting to the EU. Number of products we are exporting is also increasing constantly. So we are exporting not only grain, not only steel, not only raw materials, but also something advanced process materials, products with better, bigger added value, and so on. So the association agreement is one of, let's say, biggest economic and trade success for Ukraine for these 5 years. That's why I think that these five years from the Euromaidan and this big story for society, for European choice, and the association agreement as a symbol of European choice. So all this big story is a major success for Ukrainian society, and we can say how exactly this is a success in the light of association agreement and in the light of our relations with the EU.
With everything looking so bright and clear, what would you say Ukraine's prospects are in the process of actually joining the European Union?
I think here it's complicated. This is a complicated question. I think that we are talking not only about domestic transformations, but also about global politics, also internal the EU politics. But at the same time, for the moment, it doesn't matter whether we will become member of the European Union or not, because with Brexit, we now have new attention to the states which are not entering the EU. So it's normal to be European state which is not EU member, but cooperates with the state which cooperates and integrates with the EU while not being member state. This was a big story in before 90s. During Cold War, we had Austria or Finland or Sweden, which were not members of the EU due to geopolitical reasons. But they entered, but at the same time they integrated themselves. So while it was impossible for them to join the EU at the time, but they integrated themselves with the EU. The same story applies to Ukraine as well. Since the talks about enlargement of the EU are long-term, we have a lot of geopolitical tensions, also big conceptual discussions, but we shouldn't wait for this moment when we will be invited. I think now we have a lot of elements how to integrate to the EU. Visa-free regime, free trade agreement, then further steps on integration, food safety, energy, and so on.
Does all of this make Ukraine more attractive for foreign investors?
Indeed, it makes, once again, so the mere entry into force of free trade agreement also made us attractive for global production chains, for example, auto car industries, and we have dozens of small factories open, especially in Western Ukraine, factories which produce parts of cars which further are assembled in the EU. So this is a good example, and this is not the only example, but this is the brightest example showing how free trade agreement with the EU make you a very attractive destination for placing certain production. For sure, the biggest challenges are we're still facing the biggest challenges in terms of quality of judiciary, in terms of quality of administration, in terms of fight against corruption. And these are major obstacles, but these obstacles are not like forever. So what we are now living through is these changes in the attitude of society towards these challenges and attempts to change the general, let's say, general tradition of having bad judiciary. So we are fighting for better judiciary.
Okay. How would you, in the light of what you've just voiced, how would you evaluate the conflict in the east of Ukraine? Is it a challenge or is it a stumbling block on Ukraine's way to the European Union?
I think we are happy that this war and aggression of Russia against Ukraine didn't block our domestic reforms and didn't block our integration with the EU. And this is once again a really big success for Ukraine in general, that despite all security challenges, we managed to introduce a lot of changes in our life. Of course, this is a big problem for all continent, because this is, let's say, a situation of war between states and situation of aggression, which everyone thought that this is a matter of past, not a matter of future, but currently we actually facing this security challenge. And what is important is that this security challenge, the Russian aggression in Ukraine, also changed the EU from inside, because what we see now is that the EU has a top question on the EU agenda is defense and security, and that's why Ukraine is also an important participant of this discussion. So it's not only like the EU is sharing with us its experience on how to regulate business, how to develop business, and so on. It's also Ukraine can share with the EU how to reply to all this actual aggression, how to reply to hybrid aggression, and so on and so on. So that's why Ukraine and the EU are becoming more and more connected allies in different areas. And it's not only trade, it's also defense and security as well.
Well, hopefully, Ukraine and EU will keep up the good work and keep collaborating on numerous projects in the future. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
That was Taras Kachka. He's an advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. Thank you so much for watching UATV. Stay tuned for more.